Yes, everybody, welcome back to another daily drop brought to you by TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THS staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, here in this podcast, in this daily drop, I should say, we're here to talk about ways North Carolina can improve the game day atmosphere in Kenan Stadium, because in a lot of ways, it's a topic I think that gets talked about among the media at times. And I think it's a topic that get talked about amongst some of the diehard fans that have season tickets that come to every game every year in Kenan. And I think it is a topic that's worthy of a discussion. So, AJ, I'm going to kick it to you right off the back so we can dive right into this. How do you think, or what is maybe one of the one or two things that first pop up in your mind when you think of improving the game day experience at Kenan Memorial Stadium?
Well, there's probably a healthy checklist of things. And that isn't to say that it's bad. I think there's some things they do that are really good. I think the buildup to before the team runs out of the tunnel, I think the buildup's kind of good. Mm-hmm. I like the way the band goes out there and does its thing. I've seen a ton of these in other stadiums, and it's better than it's better than most places. That part of the buildup is. It's from when they're getting ready to have the team run out of the tunnel. That's terrible. Mm-hmm. Carolina basketball has the best pre-starting lineup video in college basketball that I've seen.
It's fantastic. It really is.
It's incredible. It's goosebump stuff. Mm-hmm. The football one stinks. Every year it's terrible. Mm-hmm. They can't. It's easy, I guess, to have great images in the basketball one. But I think they're selling the history of the program short, to be honest with you. You got to have more than one clip of choo-choo. You got to have, there's a great image out there, a video clip of Lawrence Taylor's big sack against Clemson.
Got to have more.
1980. You got to have that.
You got to milk that, AJ. You got to
have Mike Voigt on the shoulders of players after running the ball 47 times against Duke in 1976. Uh-huh. You've got to have Don McCauley, who broke O.J. Simpson's single-season rushing record. You've got to have Ken Willard, the number 2 in the NFL draft, number 2 pick in the NFL draft. You got to have Julius Peppers get that pick 6 against Oklahoma, run it on the video board. You need to do those things. You need to go back in time. Get the kids dousing Mac in the 90s with a bucket of water or a Gatorade because of what he did for the program. Get an image of them beating Michigan in the Gator Bowl in 1979 when Michigan players made cracks about a basketball school in the little old ACC. And that was such a hugely important game in Carolina history. Get Kelvin Bryant giving the ball to Steve Streeter in the end zone when he scored 6 touchdowns against ECU. They need to dig into the history, need to get some dramatic music. And then when the team runs out of the tunnel, the PA guy should not yell anything. Mm-hmm. Let them run out. And they need to have their own music. Don't steal any of the basketball
That's
stuff.
My number one. That's my number one.
The jump around and kickoff, I guess, is okay, but this isn't basketball.
It's too synonymous with the basketball program.
Just like at Virginia Tech plays Enter Sandman at basketball.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
So I think that there's a lot of things we can go to on this, but it begins with that because I cringe when I see that.
Yeah.
Because it's as if they got 10 people in a room saying, let's do this kick-ass video for basketball. Mm-hmm. And they got one guy in a room saying, oh, crap, I got to do the football one now.
Yeah, that's
what it seems like. They got to put more love into that thing. Mm-hmm. They got to put more history into that thing and better music. They're football clips, man. It shouldn't be. They do have a few historical ones, but they need more.
I feel like the same clips have been in the pregame video and even the third, going into the fourth quarter. I feel like that video has been the same for 15 years. I've been going to Carolina games for a long time.
Not only that, but then they're doing the Hell's Bells stuff, and then it morphs into some stupid music I've only heard there. It doesn't make any sense. You've got 2 songs playing at one time. Mm. It's like, give me a break. They've been doing this for a long time, and it hasn't really caught on.
Yeah,
you could create. All traditions start at some point. You can create a new fourth quarter tradition. They should do something that's Ram-oriented. A lot of people in the stadium don't know why in the hell there's a Ram over there. Mm-hmm. Tell the story on the video board in the pregame.
That's true.
Tell them about 1924, 1922. Yeah. Tell them that story.
A lot of history. that's not being
There's
told.
so much in basketball. Hubert's talking 15 minutes before tip-off. Then you've got this weather video. Then another one. You were doused in Carolina basketball.
And you just look up.
As you should be.
You just look up.
As you should be.
Mm-hmm.
Football doesn't have the same history, but that doesn't mean you can't douse them. We're going to run a series later this summer about what former UNC football players are statue worthy, and erect a bunch of damn statues around the stadium, or put them in one little common area, which is, you could call it in whatever name you want, right? Whatever. We'll deal with that in another podcast at another time. But they need to tell the world, we've actually been good here before. We're not Indiana. We're not Kansas. We're not Kentucky in football. We've had a lot more stuff. That's what the school needs to say. And they don't say that. They don't say it when you go to a football game there. If you didn't know any better, you'd think it's just another run-of-the-mill Power 5 program, which it kind of has been for the last quarter century, that has no history. Oh, yeah, there's that guy with that little light blue marker on the field. You got an incredible statue of Choo-Choo out in front of the Kenan Football Center. Make the 22-yard line a small 22.
Yeah.
There, if the ACC or NCAA allow you. I just think they need to do more. They need to put their history, the good history they have, they need to put it on steroids, and they need to just shove it down your throats. And also, on the facade of the upper deck, you can't even read the names and numbers barely. Do something different with that. They need to do so much with the game day experience there. And I'm not even talking about fans. I don't know if you're going to talk about fans in yours, but I actually think the crowds are a lot better than people as far as.
Yeah. I think they have been. I think they have been in recent years. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Again, my number one is, like I mentioned earlier, is the jump around. To me, it's you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you're a Carolina football program. We know the stigma that's amongst fans. We've talked about it, just a program that can never seem to get quite over that hump. And for a lot of fans and how they feel about it, just a program that you get constantly kind of let down by. A lot of that has to do with the success of the basketball program. But for me, Jumpman is synonymous with basketball. So as a program that's probably always going to live in the shadow of the basketball program because of how historical it is, why are you playing the same song that they run out to at the football game? This is this to me is the biggest gimme of all time if I'm Mack Brown. I've said this since Matt came in, and I'm a little disappointed he didn't change this when he got here. The first thing I would have done is said, get rid of that song. I need a team of 5 guys I don't care, 20 guys. I don't care if you hire them as interns. You have to find me a song, and I want to turn this into Enter Sandman at Blacksburg. That would have been my number one. That to me would have been one of the coolest and easiest things that Mack and his staff could have done. And I know there's enough people on that staff in the back room that would have done a great job at identifying and trying to build a brand and an image around something like that. I've been disappointed that they haven't changed that up a little bit more, because I really thought, with the attention to detail that Mack has for every little thing in the program, and all the great things he's done, improving the facilities, improving the player experience in North Carolina, bringing the family back together, trying to build that Carolina family that the basketball program so everybody knows has. That, to me, improving that part of the game day experience would have been an easy way to just put a little bit more of an image and a little bit more of a face to a program that, like I said, is unfortunately always going to be in the shadow of the basketball program because of how historically good it's been. So, AJ, that's my number one. I'll add another one too. And I don't know how this.
That real fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
That real fast.
Yeah.
I think that the jump around, which is done at the kickoff, I agree with you on that. I think that the bells, the bell tower, the bell, they should have that start slowly.
Oh, yeah.
And get a little faster, leading right up to the kickoff.
That's synonymous with the football program. That's something that's unique.
It's synonymous with the university.
Yeah.
The bell tower is overlooking. It's right there. Mm-hmm. It's lit up blue when they win. When you and I do our videos on the field after games, we try to get the bell tower in the background because it's beautiful. It's iconic for the university. Bring that out of the field and do that. Now come up with something different for the entrance video. But that, to me, would make sense. And nobody else does it. Mm-hmm. So it would be unique. Jump around. Wisconsin does jump around at the end of the third quarter and the stadium shakes. That's cool. Thing.
Yeah.
And it's the Danny Green song of basketball. Create your own song. Do something that's you and keep it and make it work.
It's a gimme. I think it's one of the easiest things and one of the first things anybody should do when they come into a program. And Mac understands that. Like I said, I've been surprised he hasn't done anything.
Kudos to you for calling out Mac too.
Yeah, and again, man, I got a lot of love for Mac. He's been great to the media guys, and since he's been back, and so just so easy to kind of work with. But it's just for me, AJ. I've talked about it with Carolina fans. I've just been disappointed in that. And, I'm just, there's certain things I could do better. There's certain things I think Matt could do better.
I'll talk to him about this at some point. I've talked to him about uniforms. You'll never see Carolina in all black with Mac at the helm.
No. And I agree. I don't think that's a good look at all. I never really liked it.
He told us that back in 2019.
Yeah. Right? Yes, he did. I got two more real quickly for you, AJ. Second thing for me, and this is no disrespect to Eric Church, but they got to get rid of that song they play after the game. I think they play it before the game too. I'm trying to think of how it goes. I just had it in my head a second ago, and I can't think of the lyrics now. The Tobacco Town where I grew up, something on a tailgate truck. You guys know the song if you go to Carolina fans. Got to get rid of that song after the game. AJ, I got a story for you, and I thought this was really cool. I interned at Lees McRae College when I was a senior at Appalachian State. I worked for the athletic department. It's a small school, about 30 minutes from Boone up in Banner Elk, North Carolina. And one of the things they played immediately after every basketball game was the Oasis song Wonderwall. Very catchy tune, really good song. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of it before, but it came on as soon as the game ended. And that's one of my lasting memories from going to in this small 500-seater almost high school gym watching a Division II basketball program when I was interning there. That to me stuck in my head. That was one of the biggest things I remember about it because it had it's a song that's a lot of people know. It's a catchy tune. It's got a good energy to it. And it would come on as soon as the game ended every time. Me personally, I don't want to hear a kind of a slow country song right after a football game ends. I know this is kind of a weird one to bring up, but for me, that's one that I don't like it. And I don't think it kind of brings the right energy after the game. I feel like if you lose, go ahead and play that song because it's kind of into me. But if you win, let's get the crowd going. Let's put a little more hype music in there and let's kind of make it more of a party, exciting atmosphere than playing that song. No disrespect to Eric Church. That's just my 2 cents on that one.
When I was covering NC State a lot, when they would win, they played Beautiful Day by U2.
Yeah.
Afterwards. And it made a lot of sense. I haven't paid a whole lot.
You probably don't even hear it because you're in the press box and probably
in the press box and we're going to do press conference. Yeah. So I don't really hear. I do hear the Eric Church stuff because we have to go walk from the press box onto the concourse to do post game. So I hear that. And when we used to do pressers upstairs on the 5th floor of the Kenan Football Center, I remember Larry Fedora had to wait one time to do his press conference because they were blaring that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was so loud we couldn't do the press conference.
It's not for me. I know people love Eric Church, Carolina fan, people love country. I'm sure a lot of people disagree with it, but for me, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit for me.
That doesn't change. And what's your other thing? My
last one, AJ, and I don't know how this one gets fixed, but I think there could be a little. I know Matt kind of tried doing this when he first got back with some of the tailgate towns, and like they had a little concert kind of on the Kenan Football Center side outside, and I thought that was pretty cool. One of the cool things about maybe the coolest thing about Kenan Memorial is where it's at. It's in the pines. It's in the middle of campus. You got dorms all around it. You know what I mean? It's cool. That's a cool part of Carolina. It's a cool part of the UNC football program that's unique from a lot of other places you'll go. NC State being a prime example. But for me, it really hinders the tailgate pregame atmosphere at North Carolina. And I think that's something that's really hurt this program for a long time because you can drive over to Raleigh and okay, maybe it's not directly on campus and Carolina fans won't want to hear this. But AJ, I remember walking through, I think maybe I was covering a game there or going to a Carolina game there. I remember walking through to get to Carter Finley, the tailgate atmosphere, man. And as someone who was with a couple guys that were wearing Carolina shirts, there was times when I was genuinely a little bit nervous for what may happen with all these drunk college kids around me. You know what I mean? And that's the atmosphere that they've kind of they've breeded at NC State because it's at the fairgrounds. You can go out at halftime and drink and come back in. It just creates a little bit crazier of an atmosphere pregame. And a lot of ways for opposing fan bases, it's a lot more intimidating. I think the problem with Carolina is there's little pockets of tailgating, Bowles Lot being one of the most popular ones, but it's almost, it's a mile away from the stadium. There's nothing really around the stadium where people can come, congregate, tailgate, because Carolina doesn't really have the space. But I do think they can do a better job of trying to set up things trying to create things around the stadium. There's so many, there's woods around the stadium. Can we not do certain things in some of the cleared areas that try to bring fans in a little bit earlier? Maybe have these little tailgate towns, little things like that. I think Carolina tried that, and maybe there's a reason I'm not privy to why it stopped. I think what they've done at the Bell Tower, kind of doing a little bit of a tailgate town there, is good, but for me, it's just not big enough. It hasn't caught on as much. Yeah. And just the fact that Carolina, the stadium's in the middle of a campus, to me is a hindrance. But I do think, and I'm not the brains for this, because I'm not, the game day guys whose sole job is to kind of improve that experience. But to me, I think there can be certain things done that can make the tailgating experience at North Carolina better, because I think that's such a huge draw of college football nowadays. It just is. That's why a lot of people want to go watch games for that.
Some of the things I've thought about probably never be done. One is some of the side roads around, just no traffic, just let people party.
Agreed.
Right,
agreed. I think that parking is also a hassle, man. The amount of time I parked at Franklin Street to get to this game is I could count.
Shuttles are good. Shuttles are good, but I'll tell you another thing. This will never happen, but it would be phenomenal if there's a way they could figure out a way to pull it off so it doesn't affect the playing surfaces of the field hockey stadium and of the football practice facilities.
That's smart.
They could bring in some kind of a tarp and lay it out all the way over. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you could have students do this, and then people can purchase spots.
That's smart.
All over on the field hockey stadium and the football practice fields, the outdoor part. People could purchase spots. The tents, everything is set up. The overhang is set up. Tables are set up. You can even purchase it for a season, and the food is brought out to you. It's catered to you.
That's really smart.
If you want this or if you want that, it's all there. And students working for the university can get all that done, a catering service, however the university wants to run that. And then as soon as the tailgating stuff is over, 2 hours after a game is over, the students bring it all down, and the team could practice the next day and do it in a manner that they're not, washing off all this spilled alcohol onto a practice field. I'm sure there's a way they can do it. It is 2023. I'm sure there's a way they can figure that out. That would bring people a lot closer. When the visiting bus comes in, they'll see people. The visiting bus comes in. I'm behind visiting buses sometimes, or when
I believe it.
If I'm an inch late, it's 2 hours before kickoff, they don't see anything. They see a couple of people on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, when you drive into Illinois for a football game, when you go into Indiana, when you go into Michigan, when you go into Florida State, when you go into Clemson, when you go into NC State, even Wake Forest, when you go into a lot of these places, Blacksburg, there's tailgating everywhere.
Oh, Blacksburg's
and
great.
It adds an extra buzz. And quite frankly, some people if this isn't your thing, that's fine. But maybe some people get a little bit more juiced up because they're getting a little bit more juice.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And they get in and inspire them to get into the stadium quicker, because the way it is, if you have thousands and thousands of more people that are in the field hockey realm over where the football practice fields are, they get into the stadium pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Let's say you shut their tailgate down a half hour before the game. Just say, you guys got to start heading in now. That's great, because they get into the stadium. As it is, people are still looking for parking spaces. You sat next to me in the press box a lot. We can look out and see where people are still filing into the stadium halfway through the first quarter. Mm-hmm. So in the opening kickoff, the crowd sucks. It looks bad on TV, and it's a bad look for the program. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you on that. Let me throw a couple more real quickly before we close this thing out. The music played during the game sucks. It's I know what you're saying. Music.
A lot of it's pretty
I like some of the music, but it's like the dude up there, he's drinking a Miller or a Pabst Blue Ribbon, and maybe he's got a light, and he's like, "Oh man, I remember this back in the day."
Yeah, back in when I was in high school in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
And don't get me wrong, AJ. I think some of the best music of all time came from the 60s and 70s.
I am too. Look, if they played In Excess and The Cure the whole time, I wouldn't complain. And some David Bowie, but they need to make it more contemporary. But they need more band, and that's the other thing. Get the band out of the end zone. Mm-hmm. When a team runs out of the tunnel, the band's on the field, so there's a swath of empty seats when the team runs out of the tunnel.
It's a great point. We've talked about this.
There's no picture you can take. I think those are great photos, except look at all those empty seats. Mm-hmm. During the spring game, the band was in the corner across from Carolina's bench, over in the corner of the tunnel, and I could hear the band better. And it was 1/3 the size of the band.
And that's the emptiest section every game.
It's the emptiest
section every game.
So put the band over there. You can hear it more in the stadium. They're closer to the opponent's bench, so it kind of drowns them out some. And you play it right at the TV cameras and the guys doing TV, so it sounds louder and it sounds like more is happening. They also need a bigger band. They have one of the smallest Power 5 bands in college athletics,
which is surprising. It is surprising
for public schools. They need more heavy instruments. They have too many clarinets and flutes. They need to improve that as well. They need more vibrancy. And that's what we're talking about. Vibrancy, passion, pay homage to the history that is with the program, because it's got more than the job that they do pushing that forward. Yeah. So a lot of things need to be fixed. And I don't think the fans are that bad. One other thing I would do, they got to build luxury suites.
Yeah, they need to improve the press box as well, but that's just.
And when they do that, make the blue zone $30 a head, 21 and older, and the indoor bar area is closed 10 minutes before kickoff and opens up only after the game
has ends. To be.
And they have people serve you your drinks in the stands like at a baseball game. And make it young and only 21 and over. So people are sitting there. There's nothing like seeing an extra point in a close game, and it's like a fifth full because the weather,
especially in August and
everybody's in
September because it's so hot, and they're the ones that are directly in the sun as well. So that's why that section's so empty early on in the season. So hot.
I know they could only build so high because the hospital's there, but go up a little higher, shadow that a little bit more. Put a screen shade up there or something.
I agree. I think the most realistic one, and the easiest, not realistic, it's not the right. The easiest one I think Carolina should do is the band. We've talked about that one before, and to me, it's a no-brainer. You're absolutely right. In the pregame video, I think those are two priorities. I really do, and I just think it's freshening things up. Again, I've gone to a lot of Carolina football games throughout the years. When I was younger, I went at times.
And you sit in the stands a lot now.
I still sit in the stands.
I'm in the press box for a quarter of a season.
I know a guy that sits beside my dad's had season tickets for 15 years, and the guy that sat by him for 10 plus went to Carolina, has been a Carolina season ticket holder for 30, 40 years probably. So I get to hear from these guys. I get to talk to these people. I get to kind of hear their thoughts on the things. Guys that have watched Carolina football a heck of a lot longer than I have. And I do think these are things that can freshen it up, because a lot of the things we're talking about, it seems like, are things that I remember when I went to a game when I was 10 years old. You know what I mean? It's like it hasn't been changed since then. And I think it's
okay to keep some stuff.
Yeah, but I think refreshing things like the placement of the band, like putting more students there in that student section instead of having a hole there all the time, adding a little bit more bass, a little bit more sound, making the band a little bit more intimidating. That to me is easy stuff, and it's a no-brainer stuff as well. I'm surprised it hasn't been done in some respects, but who knows? Maybe people think it's a stupid idea.
Every year watching them around the tunnels, damn near comical, because the steam is good, the fireworks are good, but it's usually when a team runs out of the tunnel, here's the tipping point. Boom, they take off.
And I know for a fact that's something a lot of Carolina fans agree with. I know for a fact that's a lot of things that Carolina fans want changed. I think that's one of the top ones. I know a lot of fans who agree exactly what we say. It just doesn't really fit. It kind of mimics the basketball program. Brand yourself, recreate yourself, help yourself step out of that shadow of the basketball program that's always going to be there. Help yourself stand up.
Bell.
Yeah.
Ding.
The bell's a great idea because Mac did a great job with lighting it blue. He did a great job with that. Yeah.
And speeding up the bell right before the kickoff.
Yeah, that is when I think bell, I think UNC, but more specifically, I think football. When I think bell, I don't think basketball. I don't think baseball. I think football. And I think Mac did a great job of lighting it blue, but I think there's other ways you can get it involved too.
Because they do that at the end of the third quarter, but then because it leads into Hell's Bells, and then they combine the song, which is just awful. I never understand why. Like, who signed off on that?
Yeah.
Like, who said, this sounds good? And then who's the person that doesn't have the courage to tell them, no, it's not any good. It sucks.
No, I agree.
They need to hire a person with courage that can do that.
Yeah, just be like, nah, I don't like that idea. Scrap it. And again, AJ, maybe some of these ideas we've talked about will get adopted. And if they do, just contact me. I'll give you bank account information and they can send the funds over for the idea. Because we
need to get that thing on the channel here too.
Yeah, man. No doubt about it. Hey, guys, like I've been saying at the end of these, if you are a premium subscriber, if not, come sign up for $8.33 a month on our website, TarHillIllustrated.com. Links below. We post every single article that we do on the message boards as well. So people can, premium subscribers can go talk and chat and have conversations with us about it. Get in there, get involved. Let us know what ideas you like. If you agree with us, disagree with us, what things do you think could help improve the game day atmosphere? You have to be a premium member to get involved. Come over there and sign up, $8.33 a month. There's so many other perks because pretty much 90% of the content we put out is only on the boards, and we put out a ton of free stuff as well. But if you want to get a little more bang for your buck, a little more insight to what's going on, and become a Carolina insider too, you can do that for just $8.33 a month. Got to throw that in there as well. I want to hear from fans. I think it's interesting. Get involved on Twitter as well if you'd like. Shoot us a DM, tag us, whatever it may be. But we do want to hear from you guys and what we think could improve the atmosphere at Kenan a little bit more, because I think there's a fair amount of things that can be done. So I've been Jacob Turner.
By the way, we could have gone twice the amount of time.
We're keeping these shorter
because they need to improve the concourse.
Yeah, press box.
They need new restrooms. We're going to do the statue thing later on this summer. I got a whole written series coming out about it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things they need to do. They need to do some of the outside work on the stadium too.
Agreed. Just freshen it up a little bit. It's a bit outdated for I've been going to games for a long time. A lot of the things look the same.
Like it matters.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not Wrigley Field. It's not Fenway Park. Mm-hmm. So it shouldn't have cracks all over the concourse. Yeah. It shouldn't have uneven concourse.
Even the Smith Center gets away with a little bit, because the Smith Center from the outside is not the prettiest looking building in the world. I'm surprised they haven't upgraded. But
it makes up for it when you walk.
Exactly. That and the history sells it, and it makes it like a Wrigley Field because of the history that surrounds the program. So again, guys, we appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks.